to Enchanted Florist wreath making demo. This year it's all slightly different, so we thought we'd put it online and you can follow along at home at your leisure. So if you've ordered a wreath kit, in your box you will have a 10-inch wreath ring. So it's a frame, it's a wire frame that's been covered in moss for you. And then you'll have 2 lots of wire, so you'll have a real wire and some stub wires. So the real wire is what we're going to use next. So with you're going to have a plethora of foliages, different colours, textures, all in your box, and what we're aiming to do is make up 15 little bunches, so 5 designs, 3 bunches of each. You can simplify it, you can do it the other way, you can do 3 designs and 5 bunches. This is where, if you've ever been on a class, this is where it confuses everybody, but we're aiming for 15 bunches. So with your foliages, if you have a look, you've got fir, and I would suggest to use fir in each bunch just because it gives you depth, it covers, and then you can use your accent foliages. So here we've got some silver Sussex, we've got some lovely bog myrtle, there's some eucalyptus, I've also got some gold cypress, and there's lots and lots of things in there. Also, go and have a look in your garden, go and have a look around, because there's loads of things that you can forage. So things like the ivy berries now will be getting nice and plump. These, in a couple of weeks, these will turn glossy and black and they will look fabulous in your wreath. We've got some teasels. They can be a bit spiky, just be careful. Don't want one of those in your plum. There's some holly. Now, although holly's really lovely glossy texture, the berries are always tend to be a bit further down the stem, so they never quite reach where you need them to be. But as a foliage and as a texture, they're brilliant. Also in your box you'll get some pheasant feathers, and these look fab as well. You can either use them going around your design or as a feature afterwards. I've also found some crab apples, they're lovely, and even things like I mean, here there's some bark, but it's lovely, it's covered in lichen, just interesting. That's what you want interest and texture in there. So on to our bunches. So it's important to keep your bunches all the same size, so you don't want a massive design and then a shorter one. So I tend to use, I've got quite small hands, but I tend to use my hand as a bit of a guide. So if you process your fur, what you need to do is, I tend to use about 3 pieces. You don't have to, just you've got to sort of use your initiative, use it as a suggestion here. So if you've got a fan there, and then I'm going to put some of the gold crest cypress up there because it's different colour, different texture, and then I'm going to put some of the bog myrtle in there. Always keep your accent foliages again in the top third, because as you start to bind on and build up your design, if you've got them down here, it's sort of a common mistake. People will layer them on, which looks lovely in the bunch, but actually when you come to bind your design on, you need these interesting pieces at the top. So with your bind wire then, what you need to do is just pinch it about 1 inch, and you don't need a mass of stems in this end piece because it will get bulky as you build up. So if you get your end piece, and then you're going to take your bind wire, and we're just going to secure around. Now you've got to be quite tight with these designs, and we'll just take off the end. So there's, we've got one design. So now we're going to make 2 more, 3. So we've got 3 of those. And then I'm going to do another design. So again, I'm going to use the fir as a backer. Let's put 2 little bits in here. So again, about the same size, use your hand as a guide so you can't see, so you want it full. And then I'm going to put in the silver Sussex. And then I've got some nice dried helichrysum flowers. I thought I had another one, but there we go. So again, you're just going to bind it around the bottom. And just snip that off, that excess. So now we've got 2 designs, and I'll just show you another one. Because you'll look through the box and you'll see lots of things and you think, oh, I really like that. You don't have to do different designs, you can do 15 of the same bunch. I tend to do it like this. It's sort of a tried and trusted method really, that it's all in the prep with this. So here I found some lovely contorted hazel with the catkins in out of the garden. So go and have a look, go and see what you can find on a walk or in your garden, just to add some interest, and it will just make it more personal. It's your wreath. So you get the gist. What we're going to do is we're going to make 15 bunches, all with all those different textures and designs in. I'll just clear this away because we've got a bit of a Blue Peter moment now. So keep your reel wire handy. So now, let me put these with these. So we've got our 15 bunches. So in this one we've got some teasels and some home oak, just give some different texture. And here we've got a bit of wax flower and the olearia, which is a much friendlier version of holly. So there are our 15 bunches. So let me put those over here. Actually, I'm really missing. Let me just wake up one more. I need one more with the eucalyptus. Good tip for the eucalyptus: if you're ever feeling a bit bunged up, if you hang it upside down in your shower, it releases all the essential oils, and it's lovely, natural remedy. So again, around with that one. So there we go, now we've got 15. So with our wreath ring now, this is where you can encounter, you've just got to spend a bit of time and get this first bunch placement right, because you're going to follow this angle all the way around. So if I start off with this, so the one with the gold crest in, if you use your moss ring like a roadway, and you're going to keep these cut stems in the middle of here. Another thing I didn't mention, which I can show you now, was sometimes when you're building up a bunch and you think, oh, that's a bit long, you cut it off here and then you've got a cut end. You don't want to tie that into your bunch, because although it looks okay there, actually when it's on the edge you're going to see that. So don't use a piece with a cut end, just use the top bits. So if you're going to cut it off from the bottom. Right, so on with your bind wire. You're going to keep this running continuously now, we're not going to cut it. So bind it on, wrap it around a couple of times, and you've got to give it a bit of oomph now. So we're going to put the first one on, and we're going to put it on at an angle, and we're going to follow that angle all the way around. So the temptation is, because people think, oh, I want a really full wreath and I want to do that, but when you've finished you have all these cut ends in the middle, and that again is something we want to hide those. You don't want to see your working, so put that on there, keep these in the middle, and then we're going to go around that bind point again. And so we've got our first bunch on. So we're going to get our second bunch. So now we're going to work along. So we're going to do a repeating pattern. So that was bunch number 1. So we'll go on now with the lovely dried elements, the red. So you're going to really, if you use the end of this bunch and then use your bind point on this one, sort of put them on. You need a bit of space between the bit of spacing, but you don't want to put it here. You don't want a big gap. So you've got to put them sort of like this. So that one goes so around again with your bind wire, and pull it tight a couple of times, really pull it tight. It's quite a physical. You can only do so many, you get quite tired. So as you can see from the back, you haven't got a big space there That's what you're aiming for. And then again, so we're going to go on with our teasel element. So again, there and there, and you're just going to pop it on. So if I show you what 5 looks like, so we've got one of everything on. So again, you can sort of see that's why you want these elements in the top, because if it was down here, you're going to lose it. So we're going to put this one on with the wax flower in. And they get quite heavy as you start to build them up. And then we've got this one with the lovely catkins on. So again, remember top third so you can see everything as we go around. So there, you're a third of the way through. So we're going to get these other bunches on now. So when you come to put your last bunch in, be careful not to bind on top of your first bunch. So we're just going to tuck it right underneath. Okay, that's in there. Okay. And then you're just going to cut your snip your reel wire off and then just stitch it back in. So there we go. So we can see even without any of our adornments, we've got a really nice multi-textured, interesting wreath that I think they look quite good on their own. But what we're going to do now is we're going to finish it off. So also in your box you'll have a selection of cones, dried fruit, there's some cinnamon sticks. What I've done with my cinnamon sticks here, so this is again where we're going to use the stub wires now. You finish with your reel wire, you don't need that again. So with your cinnamon sticks, if you bind them, so you might want to use raffia or string depending on which look you're going for. I've just used some ribbon, and then you can just go behind them, pull these together and then give it a twist and get these 2 legs together, because it's easier to push one point through rather than the multiple. And then when they come out the other end, just stitch them back through so you're not going to catch your fingers or scratch the door. So cones again, just different cones in there. So again, with your wire you're going to look for a space and then make, so they call it a double leg, so you're going to bring up the 2 legs, give them a twist, and then again just make 1 point so it's easier to push through. Cones look quite nice when you gather them together. I'm going to use some of these cedar cones in this one. You have to find the space where it will go through. We've got some eucalyptus berries in there. Those are alright because they're pre-wired for you. So again when you use your elements, I tend to work in 3s and 5s again, just because if you, for instance, if you put 4 cones in this wreath, you've made a square and you've spent so long making this lovely round wreath. To do that, your eye is then drawn to the square. So if you use odd numbers, you're going to keep that visual going. So 3s or 5s. whatever it is odd. So here I've got some dried green oranges. I always thought they were limes, but they're not, they're oranges. So again, those go through. We've got some lovely crab apples, so we can put some of those on. And again, with these you can just go straight through. So usually we're just going to build up the design and we'll show you when it's finished. There we go, so with the addition of the cones and some fruit and cinnamon sticks, it sort of brings it all to life. So I'm going to show you how to put the string on the back now. So if you turn it over, so remember there's a top ring running around here. If you get your string, so if you loop it, and then we're going to sort of wiggle your scissors or a knife under there, and then push it through. So you've got your loop there, and then if you just pull that through, that will grab the top wire, and then you can just knot it, ready for hanging. There are some ribbons in your box. I personally, I don't think putting a big bow on something like that actually adds anything to it, because you lose, it's a personal thing, you can do what you want with your ribbons. But I'm going to put mine, I'm just going to run them, so just push them up again just on a wire and on the back, just to sort of hang down. And then I think it's ready for hanging.